SicEm365 Radio.
I think Coach Gundy would be like my guy that I would just like just a hair. Yeah. I just want to be able to see it flow when I kind of slam his arm down.
Here's Drake Toll.
Welcome back into the Petty Clinic Low T Bears Den. I'll tell you what, it is May 4th. May the 4th be with you. And I know this guy we got on the line right now. When I say the words, May the 4th be with you, it means a little bit of something. This is Mike Neighbors, the head women's basketball coach at the University of Arkansas. May 4th, Coach, how about it?
A lot of happenings going on. Star Wars, National Concert Day, all kinds of this stuff going on. New coach at Baylor, all kinds of big stuff.
Whoa, you're telling me that Baylor got a new women's basketball coach. You got to enlighten me a bit on that one.
I'm sure you guys have been all over the top of that, but I just read it on Twitter, so it must be true.
It's got to be true. And, Coach, I sent you a message over the weekend and said, hey, you know, we're hearing these murmurs about Nicki Collen. This was probably on Sunday, and you've got a lot of perspective. Obviously, her husband was the head coach at Arkansas for years prior to Dykes, and you're an Arkansas guy. You followed them for so long. This is not a name that you're unfamiliar with.
Oh, no, Nicki from even, back in her playing days. Remember how scrappy she was as a player, and then when she came here with Tom, I was actually on the same staff with them for about 2 weeks before I went to Xavier and started coaching up there. But, know the family well, know Tom, know Nicki, and you guys y'all are adding a great piece to your university.
Coach, when it comes to what Nicki Collen brings to the table, there are a lot of fans out there. The casual fan may not have heard of her, and we asked a guest earlier to give us just an overall overview perspective of what she brings to the table. So when you hear the name, Coach Nicki Collen, what do you think?
Just the number of places she's been experienced in as a player, as a coach, at the level she's been at. She played at one level. She's coached at the pro level. She's been every single level of basketball. So been around the game, been around a lot of great players, been in the proximity, and everybody's like, she hadn't called a timeout. It doesn't take you very long to figure out when you need to call a timeout. So that's way overrated when it comes to that. She's been in a lot of big games, around a lot of success, and you're gonna see that really quickly from the first time you meet her.
Coach, when it comes to recruiting, we had a guest earlier, too, that talked about international recruiting that Collen is familiar with, but that has been the big question. Moving from the WNBA, where it's drafting and free agency, to the collegiate game, where you've got to go out, hit the ground running, and find players through pipelines to come to your school. What is her experience? I mean, is this somebody that Baylor's getting that is raw when it comes to the recruiting game?
Nah, not at all. No, she's been in the stands. She knows how to evaluate, and recruiting is just all about building relationships. And you don't have to have had those relationships prior to getting the job. When she walks in with Baylor on her chest and that green and gold, and they'll be prominently displayed, she's going to have immediate credibility. She can connect to a variety of players, whether that's international or in the state of Texas, right around your area. She's got an ability to be magnetic to whoever that she's zeroed in on, and got a good eye for basketball. She's seen it. She knows what it takes to get to all those different levels. So just because maybe she hasn't been doing it for the last 3 or 4 years, I guarantee you she hadn't forgot what it looks like.
Coach, for a coach that comes from Purdue, Marquette, Ball State, Colorado State, Louisville, Arkansas herself, Florida Gulf Coast, Connecticut, Atlanta, I don't see Texas anywhere in that list. How tough is it going to be for her to build that Texas pipeline while here at Baylor?
Well, I mean, it's, you've got your work cut out for you now with all the other schools that try to come into the state to recruit. I mean, Texas is known as a hotbed, so every program in the South, and really the good ones across the country, even the top programs in the country will come in there trying to, recruit the talent. But she's got her work cut out for her. There's no question. You got Vic Schaefer over at Texas. You got Coach Blair still doing his thing at A&M, and Houston's rolling. Coach Huey's doing a good job down the road at Houston, and Rice has got a great program. You got Stephen. There's just so many good college basketball programs in the state. You've got to come in there and develop your own identity, and I think that's what everybody's going to be anxious to see is what type of identity will they build there.
And, Fayetteville and Coach Mike Neighbors are not too far away from Waco, too. Those territories cross paths here, there every now and then, Coach. I know that as well. With this hire, the question's been brought up. There is a vast difference in being a head coach in the WNBA and being a head coach in collegiate basketball, and that's just anything when it comes to college based on college to pro. When it comes to the fact that Nicki Collen has yet to be a head coach in the collegiate game, does that give you any reservations about this hire?
Nah, not at all. Like I said, you learn when to stand up and sit down. I've been an assistant coach for 14 years, and everybody said the same thing. Never called a timeout. You figure that out pretty quick, and if you don't, just listen to your fans. They'll tell you, maybe you have to listen to them for the first year or so till you figure it out. But, no, she's the WNBA is a microcosm of what we do at the college level. There's some small changes, but again, you're talking about somebody that's around the game 24/7 and talks the game and knows the game. So there's not going to be a learning curve in there. And I still have to ask our scores table sometimes whether we got a media timeout coming. I've been doing this for 21 years, so the people can relax. They've got somebody. Mac Rhodes has been around. He's been around a lot of women's programs. He knows what he's looking for, and he's not going to bring somebody in that's going to have any type of a learning curve. Nicki Collen will be ready from the day y'all have that press conference till they tip it off. You can rest assured you're going to have a proven, ready to go coach.
Coach, along with that, I know you and I had conversation about Molly Miller being in that mix. Joni Taylor at Georgia, who she's very happy at Georgia, just that new contract extension to Dia Barnes, who you know well. When it comes to that list of coaches that were in there, I know specifically Molly Miller was that big one who doesn't have experience at the Division I level. When you compare what it would have been like bringing in someone that doesn't have that experience to someone like Nicki Collen with a decade of experience, is that going to benefit Baylor in the long run, the fact that they went with someone who has that pedigree?
Well, I think since you're talking about not very many jobs, Drake, not very many jobs open up that the program's in good shape. Okay. Jobs usually open for the different reason, they open because the program's at the bottom. You're talking about a team that's 1 year removed from the national championship. You got a team that's got the returning Wade Trophy winners. So, I think what you're going to get is you're going to get a faster learning curve. There's not going to be any of that to that. Molly Miller is going to be an icon in our game for a long time. I mean, she's got a long career ahead of her. But with Nicki, I think you can expect things to happen faster. You're going to hear that. I'm sure in her press conference, there's not going to be this plan for the future unveiled. It's going to be plan for what happens this year. The expectation there is to win Big 12 championships and win national championships. So I think in Nicki, you've got somebody that's going to have some confidence from day one, and there's just not going to be anything that she's not ready for.
For those that are just joining us, Coach Mike Neighbors at the University of Arkansas women's basketball program joining the show today. Coach, when it comes to adapting to a roster, she's walking into a program that has Queen Egbo, now Jordan Lewis from Alabama, Nalissa Smith, Caitlin Pickell, Chrislyn Carr. The list goes on at the nucleus that is staying in Waco with Nicki Collen. And people expect her to win now. How will she adapt to this roster? Is she a coach that is adaptable?
Sure. Yeah, that's what the pros adapt every year. They change their roster through the draft. So I don't think it's going to be any transition time for her. She's got all summer to do it. You're talking about a group of veterans. I'm really glad that the Big 12 SEC Challenge is not a home-and-home deal, so we don't have to come down there to the Farrell Center and return that game this year because, I think you're talking about a team that in the preseason, if they're not inside the top 5 or 6, I'll be shocked. So I think with that level of expectation, she's going to sense it. She's going to know it, but again, she's been dealing with adult players, adult egos. So I don't think there's any question that you got a team that's going to be picked there, and everybody's going to expect to finish there.
When it comes to style of play, in the collegiate game and what Nicki Collen and Tom Collen have been known to do. You know, Kim Mulkey emphasized defense. It was defense, rebounding, find the post. For Nicki Collen, is this going to change? I mean, is she a jack up threes? Let's go 90-0. What are we getting from a philosophy or style of play standpoint that you know?
Well, from what I've seen, she's going to adapt to the personnel that you have. I don't think there's going to be one way every year, one way. It's going to be what's best for the roster that you're able to put together. She was Tom's defensive coach for a number of years up here at Arkansas. She specialized on that side of the ball. But, you know, Tom's been a pick-and-roll guy a large part of his career, and because of the players that they've had, that's been what they've run. But I think you're going to see your best players be highlighted. Your best shooters are going to get the most open shots. Your best post players are going to get the most touches on the block, and they will guard you. I don't expect that'll change. That's been a fabric for who they've both been. And even though Tom's, you know, maybe not in coaching, obviously they talk ball all the time. I've been around them enough to see them, the way they talk basketball when they're around, not around the gym. So I'd expect to see a variety of offensive looks to highlight the players you mentioned earlier. But I do think defense is still going to be a pillar of their program.
Coach, when it comes not just to putting it out on the court from a coaching standpoint and implementing your own style, you've got to do that through your assistants as well. The fraternity of collegiate coaches and what she's built in the WNBA, she has those connections. You got Bill Brock and Satia Messer, too, that she'll try to recruit to stay on staff here at Baylor. What are keys to success when it comes to naming assistants for a coach like Nicki Collen?
Yeah, she's going to know exactly what she's looking for. She knows where her strengths and weaknesses lay, and she'll fill in the gaps with her assistants. And, you know, that's the next most thing. After you recruit, hiring your staff that's going to make you sleep well at night, people that you can trust, that you know are very, very skilled. Because, again, you're bringing in the top players in the country. If you bring somebody in that doesn't know what they're talking about, those players will sniff that out in a hurry. So Nicki's well connected. Tom is as well. She'll have unlimited resources, I'm sure, just from judging in the past what they've done. And she'll put together a staff that's going to be important to her as a person and then important to the players as a program. So, you know, it's going to be fun to see what she's able to do. And our game's a lot better having she and Tom back in the game for sure.
Coach, you just mentioned that the game gets better with having her back in the game in collegiate basketball, and I want to go right there. When you think about there, I'm sure Big 12 coaches that thought, okay, finally, Kim Mulkey's gone from Baylor.
Yeah.
Maybe there's a shot for us to. I mean, Fennelly said it a couple years ago. Every team in the Big 12 starts 0-2. You know, because you got to play Baylor twice. Is this a break? Did Big 12 coaches in this region, including yourself, did you guys get a break with Baylor hiring Nicki Collen?
No chance. No, I mean, I think we were all hopeful, but like I said, anybody that knew Mack Rhodes' background and how important a value he puts on women's basketball, you knew that it was just going to be a reload type situation. Now, obviously, there's a transition period, and you never know you can't predict what's going to happen. But I do know that I don't think anybody's going to change their preseason picks based on the recent announcement with Nicki and them coming to town. I would expect Baylor and will be picked toward the top, if not the top again this year with everybody and everything they've done in the offseason.
Coach, I got two last questions here for you before we hit our Bear games today. And this first one being kind of on board with Kim Mulkey. I want to know for you, you're now going to have to compete with Mulkey a time or two, even more, every single season with her being at LSU. What does that mean for the SEC as a league, and what were your reactions to that move being made?
Well, it raised our average salary pool an awful lot. We're all very thankful for that. You know, I was hoping to be able to retire 1-0 against Coach Mulkey. That was going to be kind of maybe something on my headstone, but obviously now there's a chance of playing them a couple or three times a year. But I think it just, again, it adds another Hall of Fame coach into that room that I get nervous walking into every time when I see Don Staley and Gary Blair and everybody that's in that room that's won national championships. So it just, you know, iron sharpens iron, so we got to get better. And but like I said, it just makes our league again gets you prepared for the NCAA tournament. It's a grind for 16 games, and having her in the league will make our league better as well. There's no question.
Coach, last question for you here before our Bear games, and that is Kim Mulkey is a legend in her own respect. I mean, she has built a brand for herself at Baylor University, and there is no Baylor women's basketball as a powerhouse without Kim Mulkey. That's gone. Following a legend is one of the toughest things that you can do in any sport. How does Nicki Collen follow the legend that is Kim Mulkey at Baylor?
I think you got to do it quick. You know, they're going to be expected to win the Big 12 next year. I think you got to go out and do that from the very beginning. And if you don't, then you got to dig your heels in and get it done quick, because the expectation is there. That's what following the legend knows. Nicki knows that. She knows full well what's been accomplished there. But, you know, I think the other part is, as a coach, it's about those players. You know, you can know everything you need to know and do all the things you need to do from the side, but if the players, if you don't have the Nylistas, the Queens, all the people that you've mentioned, and the players they've had in the past, those things don't happen. So that's going to be the key to it. Her surrounding herself on her staff with the right people and the people in that locker room, and they built a national brand. So you're not going to see me all of a sudden changing my preseason picks for where Baylor lands just because there's a new name on the head coach line. So it's going to be exciting. It is an earthquake in our game. We've never had a coach leave a national championship team for another team. So maybe it's a sign of growth. I don't know. We'll look back on it in 5 years, Drake, and we'll see. We'll have a reunion 5 years on May 4th from now. What do you think?
I think we might as well just do that, especially if Nicki Collen has taken 5 national championships in that span, but all against Arkansas, obviously. We want you in that title game.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Coach, Bear Games questions today. We got 2 for you here. I know you're a big movie buff, and I want to we're doing some Rotten Tomatoes ratings today, 1 to 100.
Okay.
We've had like the Sixth Sense is like an 85, and so a lot of folks have given the Nicki Collen higher around an 85. We've had a couple hundreds. Paddington 2 is a 100 on Rotten Tomatoes. We found that out today. For you, your Rotten Tomato listing of the Nicki Collen hire at Baylor.
I don't know. Is high numbers bad, though, isn't it?
High numbers are good. It keeps the tomato intact. Anything under 50 and the tomato is squashed. Over 50, tomato good.
Oh, I think you got to be way over that. You've not done anything to put a blemish on the tomato. You would still buy it at your local supermarket. It's just got a different name on it. It's the same Baylor program. I think you'll see some slight changes, but I don't think you change the expectation level. So whatever the best rating it could get would be on there. I haven't seen Paddington 2, but I'm guessing it must not be worth watching.
Paddington 2 is a 100, and that's a good thing. I don't know how. Right.
Okay.
It is the 100 perfect tomato, and the Sixth Sense is 85. One can only infer what that means about Rotten Tomatoes.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay, well, the Sixth Sense you can't rewatch because once you see it, you kind of know how you're watching. It changes the way you watch the rest of the movie. So I'm sure the rewatchability hurts that one. But, I think you guys, I think Rotten Tomato-wise, you don't have to worry about anything going rotten right there.
She's a great tomato. Nicki Collen's a great
tomato. There you go.
She's Paddington too. And then last question, Coach. You got that core coming back, that nucleus of players, Melissa Smith in there as well, and probably the preseason National Player of the Year. And with that, where does Nicki Collen need to end up in year number 1? Checkpoint she needs to hit year number 1 to have sustained success at Baylor.
I think you're playing on the second weekend in the NCAA tournament. The sweet once you get to that second weekend, crazy things can happen, but you got to get to that second weekend and maybe beyond. That's just the standard of excellence that's been set there. I think a Big 12 championship. I think a strong preseason has got to be in place with success in the recruiting classes. But that'd be the barometer. I'm sure that she's set for herself. That's what every coach does, and maybe slides the scale down a little bit. We're not all talking about being preseason ranked in the top 5, but that's where this thing's starting. So I would expect she's got very, very high standards. And I think y'all y'all will hear that when you get a chance to hear from him. Is the press conference today or tomorrow?
Tomorrow at 2:30. Tomorrow at 2:30 on ESPN Plus. So she's landed today in Waco, and she'll meet with the media at around 2:30 tomorrow.
All right. Well, whoever's got your best lacrosse team in town better get ready, because she's got some twins that are some stud lacrosse players, so they better get ready.
Oh, man, we're going to have to start a lacrosse team as well. That's what I'm hearing.
There you go.
We're going to have to start a lacrosse team. Coach, from Cabot High School to Tulsa to Colorado to the Seattle area and then up-tempo today. Thanks for joining us.
You got it, Drake.
Always a pleasure. That was Mike Neighbors, the head coach of the University of Arkansas women's basketball team, talking about Nicki Collen and what that hire means for Baylor University. And, well, you heard it from him that the college game got better. The region got better, and there is no dip when it comes to Nicki Collen being the head coach at Baylor. Will still be the powerhouse that it has been with this hire. I'm Drake Toll, Armstrong Sims, Jack McKenzie. When we come back, Grayson Gruntafer joins us for the big board. We're talking some Baylor recruiting and Baylor football and Baylor basketball and a little bit